The beast in chains. The ground shook. People screamed and ran across the market square as the cage rattled. Chains groaned. A deep growl filled the air, like thunder trapped in a throat. The alien guards shouted, "Keep back! It's waking up!" Inside, a massive steel cage stood a creature taller than any man. It had black, scaly skin like armor, sharp horns curling from its head and red glowing eyes. Its breath came out in hot steam. The beast's name was Gravel, and no one ever went near it, except one person. John, a human explorer, didn't move. While others fled in fear, he stood still, watching calmly from a distance. An alien child tugged her mother's arm. "Mama, why is the human not scared?" The mother pulled her close. "He doesn't understand death." Guards ran forward, holding electric spears, shouting orders. Gravel roared again, shaking his cage. But then, it stopped. Gravel stared, directly at John. It was only for a moment, but something strange happened. The beast's breathing slowed. It tilted its head slightly, almost as if curious. From high above, on a crystal balcony of the royal tower, Princess Zelira saw everything. She had bright violet skin, long silver hair, and eyes like two moons. She leaned forward, watching the human who did not run. "That one," she whispered. "Bring him to me." John walked calmly beside two tall guards entering the glowing halls of the palace. He wasn't nervous. He had been to alien cities before, but this time felt different. The guards stopped before two large doors. "Wait here. The princess will speak to you," one said. The doors opened with a soft hum. Inside stood Princess Zelira, in a long flowing dress made of starlight threads. Behind her, a large window showed the caged Gravel far below in the city square. "You didn't run," she said softly. "Why?" John shrugged. "Running doesn't help. Fear doesn't make you brave. It makes you blind." Zelira studied him for a moment. "Do you know what that creature is?" "I've read stories. A living weapon, born for war, raised to obey one master, you." She nodded. "Everyone fears it. Even I do sometimes. But it's all I have. Gravel listens only to me." John smiled a little. "That's not true." Zelira raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "When it looked at me, it stopped moving. It didn't attack. It wasn't angry." Zelira's face changed. Surprise, a little fear, and something else. "Hope? You think it likes you?" she asked. "I don't know. But I think it saw me. Not as food, not as threat, just saw me." Later that evening, John walked back through the palace garden thinking about her words. The wind was cool. Stars blinked in the sky. Suddenly he heard a low growl. He turned slowly. Gravel, the creature, was standing in the garden. No cage, no chains. Two guards were on the ground behind it, unconscious, not dead. Gravel had escaped, but it didn't attack. It walked slowly toward John. John didn't run. His heartbeat raced, but he kept calm. "Hey there," he said gently. "Not here to hurt you." Gravel sniffed the air, then lowered its massive head and stopped just a few inches from John's face. Its breath was warm. Its eyes glowed, but not in anger. John slowly raised his hand. "Can I?" Gravel didn't move. John touched its head. The moment his hand touched the beast's skin, Gravel made a deep, soft sound, like a purr mixed with thunder. From the shadows, Princess Zelira stepped forward. She had followed secretly, wanting to see what would happen. Her eyes were wide. "No one but me has ever touched Gravel and lived," she said quietly. John looked at her. Maybe he was just waiting for someone who wasn't afraid. Zelira stared at John, then at the beast beside him. For the first time in her life, she felt a little less alone. The princess's interest. The guards stood frozen, gripping their weapons tight. Their legs trembled. None dared move forward. Gravel, the feared royal beast, lay calmly on the ground next to John. John sat cross-legged, his hand resting on the creature's scaly head like it was a giant dog. Gravel's eyes were half closed, relaxed, its heavy chest rising and falling slowly. "Step back, human," one guard shouted. John didn't even look up. "If you attack him, I won't stop him from defending himself." They didn't dare shoot. From behind them, a voice spoke, calm, strong, and female. "Stand down." The guards turned sharply and dropped to one knee. "Princess Zelera." She walked slowly into the garden, the moonlight making her silver hair shimmer. Her eyes stayed locked on the strange scene. "John, what are you doing?" she asked softly. "I didn't do anything. He came to me." She looked at Gravel. "Why?" John finally looked at her. "Maybe. He's tired of being feared." That same night, John was brought to a private chamber in the palace. Not as a guest, but as a puzzle. Zelira sat in a wide chair carved from star crystals. She rested her chin on her hand, watching John pace across the marble floor. "You are unlike any human I've met," she said. John shrugged. "Maybe you just haven't met enough humans." Zelira smiled faintly. "That's fair, but I have met warriors, traders, explorers. All of them feared Gravel. Even my own people fear him, but not you." He looked at her directly. "I grew up on a human colony surrounded by wild creatures. Fear teaches survival, but trust teaches peace." She stood now, walking slowly, toward him. "You're saying you trust Gravel?" "I do. He was bred for killing." John met her gaze. "Maybe he's tired of killing." Zelira said nothing, but in her eyes something shifted. She walked to the large viewing window. Below, in the beast's resting zone, Gravel curled up alone. Silent. Still. "He never had anyone but me," she whispered. "When I was a child, they gave him to me as a protector, but I think maybe we protected each other." Later, in the silent halls of the palace, two alien generals met in secret. "This human is dangerous," one hissed. "Gravel follows him. The people will start talking. Let them talk. But if Gravel switches loyalty, the princess may choose the human over us. Then we remove him before that happens." In the shadows, a plan to end John's life began. Meanwhile, in her private garden, Zelira sat beside John on a stone bench, under glowing alien flowers. The night air was soft. "You know," she said, "I've never had a real conversation with someone outside my species before." "Are we doing all right so far?" John asked, smiling. She laughed. A soft, real laugh. "You're strange, John. I get that a lot." A pause. "Why do you really think Gravel came to you?" she asked. John looked up at the stars. "Maybe because I wasn't trying to own him. I didn't see a monster. Just a soul trapped in a body no one understood." She was quiet. Then she whispered, "Maybe he's not the only one who feels that way." Their eyes met. The next morning, Gravel refused food from the handlers. He paced. He growled. He slammed his tail against the steel wall. But when John entered, the beast sat quietly. One handler whispered, "He's picked a new master." Another guard frowned. "No, not a master. A friend." And in the shadows, someone watched with jealous eyes. Secrets of the creature. John froze. His heart pounded. The room was dark, cold, and too quiet. Gravel stood only inches from his bed. No guards, no leash, no warning. But the beast didn't growl, didn't attack. It simply stared. John sat up slowly. "How did you get in?" Gravel snorted softly, then turned and walked toward the open balcony. Wind blew in through the curtain. The monster had come in from the outside wall, climbing. John followed it out onto the balcony. Gravel sat down on the cold stone floor like a dog waiting beside its master. That's when Princess Zelira appeared, behind him. "You didn't call for help?" she asked. John turned, surprised. "Were you watching?" "I never stopped." Zalira and John sat beside Gravel in the moonlight. The princess looked at the creature with tired eyes. "There's something you should know," she said. "Something I've never told anyone." John waited. "He wasn't supposed to survive," she said quietly. "They made Gravel in a lab, mixed species, designed him as a living weapon for the royal family. But something went wrong. They said he was unstable." John frowned. "Then why keep him?" I begged them, she whispered. "He was just a baby when I first saw him. Everyone else wanted to destroy him. But he looked at me the same way he looks at you now. Like he saw me." Gravel let out a soft, rumbling sound, then lay down between them. John placed a hand on the creature's back. "He's not broken. He just wasn't given a choice." Zalira looked at John. Neither was I. The next morning, alarms rang in the palace. "Gravel escaped again," shouted a soldier. "No, he didn't," said John calmly, stepping into the hallway with Gravel walking beside him like a shadow. Servants gasped. Warriors pulled weapons, but didn't attack. They had heard the stories now. Some said Gravel bowed to the human. Others said the beast had found a new master. Rumors spread like fire. Zalira's uncle, General Korth, slammed his fist on the meeting table. "This ends now," he growled. "That human is controlling her pet. He's controlling her." A whisper came from the side. "Then make her choose between her throne and him." Back in the garden, Zalira sat alone, her mind storming. Her people feared she was becoming weak. Her council was turning against her. And yet, she looked at a small pendant in her hand. Inside it, a photo, herself as a child, and a tiny Gravel. Curled at her feet, she whispered, "Have I lost control? Or have I finally found peace?" That evening, John walked into the chamber where Gravel had once been chained, but now the chains were broken and cold. He stared at the walls, the steel floor, the electric rods still scattered around. He imagined Gravel as a baby, frightened, alone, poked and prodded, turned into a monster by people who never saw the creature's soul. Suddenly he felt angry, not at Gravel, at the ones who created him, and never gave him a choice. At the edge of the city, 2 bounty hunters arrived. "We heard there's a price on the human's head," one said, grinning. "Dead or alive?" A hooded figure in the shadows handed them a data chip. "Dead is easier." Back in the palace, Zalira met John under the starlight once again. "Would you ever leave?" she asked suddenly. He blinked. "Why?" "If I asked you to go, would you?" He looked at her gently. "If it kept you safe, yes. But if you're asking because of fear, then no. I stay." Zalira took a deep breath. "Then stay, because I feel like I need you here. Not just for Gravel, for me." They stood in silence, Gravel curled nearby, watching them both with glowing, calm eyes. And in that moment, neither of them saw the laser scope slowly lighting up on John's back, from somewhere in the shadows. Threats from within John rolled across the stone path, his instincts sharp. The night air shattered with the hum of energy weapons. Gravel roared, an earth-splitting sound, and dove into the shadows like a thunderstorm with claws. Zalira's guards shouted and scrambled, forming a shield around the princess. But she wasn't afraid for herself. "John!" she screamed. He stood up slowly, brushing dust from his tunic. His voice was calm but serious. "That wasn't a mistake. Someone tried to kill me." Zalira's eyes narrowed. "And they fired while Gravel was near. That means they weren't just after you. They were sending a message." Moments later, the head of palace security inspected the scene. "No signs of a drone," he said. "The shot came from inside the garden walls." Zalira clenched her fists. So it was someone from inside the palace. John sat on a bench, still calm, but his thoughts were moving fast. "They know I'm a threat, not because of anything I did, but because Gravel listens to me now. And because I do too," Zalira added softly. In the secret chambers beneath the palace, General Korth met with the royal council. "The people whisper of a prophecy," one of the elders muttered. that the beast of the crown would only kneel to the future ruler. And now it kneels to a human, Korth barked. Do you not see? She is falling for him. She has let him near it. What do you suggest? Korth's voice was cold. We remove the human, quietly, before Gravel sees us as enemies. Back in her personal chambers, Zelira stared out the window. She had not spoken in minutes. John stood beside her, silent. She finally said, You should leave. He turned to her, surprised. Why? Because I cannot protect you from my own people anymore. John didn't smile this time. His voice was low. I didn't come here for protection. I came because I wanted to understand. And now, I do. She looked at him. Understand what? That you're trapped too. Just like Gravel. You're royalty, but you can't even choose who to trust. Zelira's lips trembled. You still trust me? He nodded. Yes. Later that night, Gravel paced restlessly. It sensed something dark. Then the door opened slowly. Not John, not Zelira. 3 masked figures entered silently. Armed, focused, they raised their weapons. Gravel's red eyes blazed like fire. Outside, John was walking down the hall when he heard a sound. Metal, bending, glass shattering. He ran, he burst into the beast chamber. What he saw froze him in place. 3 soldiers, unmoving. Their weapons melted. Gravel standing over them, breathing hard. Then it looked at John, not wild, but protective. Blood dripped from its claws. Not John's blood, not Gravel's. Enemies. Gravel had defended itself, defended him. Zelira rushed in behind him, gasping. Her eyes darted between the broken men and her calm beast. This was an assassination attempt, John said, and Gravel stopped it. Her voice was tight. If the council finds out, they'll say he attacked first, John muttered. No one will believe the truth. Zelira looked down at one of the soldiers. A badge fell from his chest. It was royal. Her face turned cold. My uncle, she whispered. He's behind this. That night Zelira met her uncle face to face. You sent them, she said calmly. Korth smirked. I sent no one. Soldiers go where they're ordered. You ordered my beast's death, and the humans. Your beast has already chosen. Another master, he said. You've lost control. The Empire sees it. They will never accept you as queen now. She stood tall. Then I will make a choice, one they can't ignore. He laughed. And what will that be? Zelira's voice cut the air like a blade. I'll show them that the future isn't ruled by fear. It's ruled by trust. The forbidden Bonjon stood on the palace balcony, looking at the stars. He didn't blink when the message came through. A red glow lit the city. Giant projectors displayed his face across alien towers with bold letters, Enemy of the Empire. He whispered, They're afraid. Not of me, but what I represent. Behind him, Gravel growled, low and long. Princess Zelira stormed into the room, breathless and furious. You need to run now, she said. John looked at her. So it's official? They forced my hand, she whispered. The council demanded I approve it. If I refused, they'd remove me. I stalled them, but, she broke down, her voice cracking. I couldn't stop them. John stepped closer, touching her hand gently. I don't blame you. Her eyes welled with tears. But Gravel, if they chain him again, he won't survive. John's jaw clenched. Then we don't let them. That night, the gates of the Beast Hall were locked. Soldiers in black armor surrounded the area. High-voltage nets shimmered in the air. John walked toward the hall quietly, cloak over his head. His heart beat fast, but not with fear, with purpose. He passed by the cages where other creatures snarled, but his mind was fixed only on one. Gravel was pacing inside his chamber, rage in his eyes. John whispered, We don't have much time. The guards saw him. Stop, they shouted, raising weapons. Gravel turned and exploded into motion. In a single leap, the beast tore through the wall, smashing a guard into the ceiling. John grabbed the fallen guard's keycard and sprinted. The word escape had begun. Back in the palace, Zelira received the alert. Gravel has broken containment. She stood up calmly. Good. Her handmaid gasped. You helped him? Zelira nodded. He's my protector, and John is my choice. The maid trembled. But the law, I am the law, Zelira said coldly, until they rip the crown off my head. John and Gravel raced through the city's lower tunnels, alarms echoing behind them. We need a ship, John said, breathless. Gravel sniffed the air and charged forward. In the distance, a stolen hovercraft waited, arranged by Zelira herself. But suddenly, boom, the wall beside them exploded. Out stepped General Korth, armored in royal tech. Behind him, 10 elite soldiers. This is where your journey ends, human, Korth snarled. John stood tall, unarmed. You're not afraid of me. You're afraid of her choosing me, Korth growled. You polluted her mind, broke her bond with the beast. Gravel stepped between them, growling louder than thunder. Korth raised his weapon. Then die together. The beam fired, bright and deadly. But it never hit. Zelira jumped between them, her shield flashing as the beam struck it. The blast knocked her to the ground. John ran to her. Zelira. She opened her eyes weakly. They left me no choice. Gravel roared in fury and attacked, smashing Korth into a wall. Soldiers scattered. The sky above lit up with warships descending. The Empire had declared war on its own princess. John carried Zelira into the hovercraft. Gravel leapt in after them. The engines roared to life. As they rose into the air, the people below stared, some in shock, some in silence. A message appeared on every screen. She chose the human. She chose the beast. She chose her own path. Far above the city, the ship disappeared into the stars. Zelira whispered from John's arms. They said the bond was forbidden. John smiled. Then let's make our own rules. And Gravel, curled at their feet, growled softly, not in rage, but in peace. The escape plan. The ship rattled violently. Zelira sat strapped in, still pale from her injury. Sparks flew from the dashboard. John gripped the controls. Behind them, Gravel paced like a caged storm. 3 warships behind us, John said. Count 12 missiles. Zelira groaned. No ship this small can outrun them. John turned and looked at Gravel. Maybe not a ship. Gravel's red eyes narrowed. He understood. John unstrapped the beast's harness and opened the cargo. Bay the Wind howled. You really trust him? Zelira asked. With my life, John said, and leapt onto Gravel's back. The princess's mouth dropped open. You're insane, John grinned. That's why it might work. Out in the freezing upper atmosphere, Gravel burst from the ship. Like a comet, the beast's wings tore through clouds, dodging missiles mid-air. John held tight, yelling over the wind. Let's show them what fear really looks like. The first missile flew past. The second wasn't so lucky. Gravel spun mid-air and slammed into it with his tail. A fireball lit the night. Back inside the ship, Zelira took over navigation, opened secret codes to a hidden warp gate, her family's ancient escape tunnel. But they had to survive 5 more minutes. Outside, Gravel dove toward the Empire cruiser, claws glowing red. Inside the enemy warship, alarms screamed. Something's coming, the pilot yelled. Another ship? No, a beast. Gravel slammed into the hull like a meteor. Steel buckled. The ship spun out of control. John climbed into the breach, tossing in a plasma grenade. Compliments from the humans, he muttered, and leapt off. The explosion tore the cruiser in half. Back on the stolen ship, Gravel returned mid-flight, catching John in mid-air and landing with a crash on the rear deck. Zelira ran to them. Are you crazy? John smirked. A little. She hugged him tightly, then looked at Gravel, who licked her hand gently. For the first time, all 3 stood together, not princess, beast, and visitor, but a team. Moments later, the ship reached the hidden warp gate. It was ancient, a ring floating in space covered in glowing alien runes. But they weren't alone. A final cruiser appeared before the gate, weapons ready. "They'll never let us escape," Zalira said. "Then we don't." "Ask for permission," John replied. He turned to Gravel. "Time to scare them." The beast roared louder than ever, so loud the cruiser's sensors overloaded. Inside the enemy ship, soldiers panicked. "It's loose. The monster's here." But they never saw Gravel. They only saw the empty ship flying straight at them, piloted by no one. Because John, Zalira, and Gravel had already jumped. Jetpacks strapped, flying beneath the cruiser's blind spot straight into the warp gate's core. A white flash. Then silence. Stars shifted. The stolen ship exploded behind them, and the Empire cruiser spun. Helplessly. But John and the others were gone. Far from Empire space. Far from the chains of royalty. They landed on a quiet green moon. The air was fresh. The sky was clear. No cities, no soldiers, just freedom. Zalira sat under a glowing tree, breathing deep. "Is this exile?" she asked. John sat beside her. "No, this is home, if we choose it." Gravel curled up beside them, eyes half closed. John placed his hand on the beast's back. "You saved us," he said quietly. Gravel gave a low, satisfied rumble. Above them, the stars blinked silently. And far away, in the halls of the Empire, fear spread not because of the beast, but because it was no longer under their control. A new kingdom of three. The green moon was quiet, no alarms, no orders. No enemies, just wind in the tall grass, glowing insects dancing in the air, and the warm breath of Gravel curled near a fire pit. John sat with a simple metal tool in his hand, carving wood. "I never imagined my life would look like this," he said. Zalira sat across from him, brushing leaves from her hair. "What? Peaceful?" "No." John chuckled. "Surrounded by stars with a runaway princess and a dragon beast as my roommates." Gravel grunted. "Sorry," John said, patting him. "Royal guardian, not beast." Over the next few days, they built shelter from ship parts and alien trees. Gravel hunted food, careful to avoid scaring the local creatures. He had changed. Zalira kept her royal tech hidden, but she monitored the Empire's signals. Something strange was happening. "They aren't searching for us anymore," she said one morning. John raised a brow. "What do you mean?" "I mean, they're silent. No alerts, no bounty, nothing." John looked at her carefully. "Do you think they're planning something?" "No," she whispered. "I think they're afraid of what we became." That evening, a small merchant ship landed. Nearby, an old alien trader stepped out. He was nervous but peaceful. "I come in peace," he said, holding his hands up. "I heard rumors. The girl with the beast, the human beside her." Zalira stepped forward. "What do you want?" "Trade," he said, "and stories. I've heard the Empire no longer dares chase you." John looked surprised. "Why?" The trader smiled. "Because your bond broke their legend. The beast was their symbol of power, but now it protects a human." Pointed to Gravel, who sat calmly watching birds fly. "They say the monster chose kindness, and that's more terrifying than war." Days turned into weeks. More visitors came, first traders, then wanderers, then refugees, people tired of the Empire's rules, looking for peace. They brought supplies, gifts, and respect. Zalira stood on a stone ledge one day, looking out at the tents and homes slowly rising around her. "They're building a city," she said. John stood beside her. "You gave them hope, and Gravel gave them safety." She looked at him. "And what did you give them?" John smiled. "I gave them a reason to believe monsters aren't always what they seem." One night, under a sky full of glowing comets, Zalira turned to John. "I was born into a throne I never asked for, but here I feel something better." He looked at her. "What's that?" A choice. She stepped closer. And I choose you. She kissed him softly, her hand resting on his chest. Nearby, Gravel watched silently, his eyes glowing in the starlight, not with fury, but calm. Months later, an official banner flew over the growing colony. 3 symbols, a human hand, an alien crown, and the silhouette of a beast with wings. People across nearby worlds began whispering of a new kingdom, not built by war, but by an unlikely bond, a princess, a human, and a feared creature who became their protector. Zelera sat in the garden one morning, holding a child's drawing in her hands. It showed 3 figures, one small, one tall, and one enormous with red eyes. John walked up with Gravel beside him. "They think we're legends now," he said. She laughed. "Maybe we are. But we didn't change the galaxy with weapons," John said. "No," Zelera whispered. "We changed it with love." Gravel let out a soft rumble as birds landed on his back, and far above, the stars burned quietly, as a new kind of empire was born, not of fear, but of family.